These are deaths that span the 20th century. And over the last 10 years, as social media has grown, Facebook Live, Snapchat, all of these ways of recording events live, we have even moved past the time where, we're documenting this so it can get out to the world. We now know they will kill us again and again on film and walk free. It's time now to move into the second phase of the plan.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the name of it again?
It's called Chai and Gray.
Okay.
A date night with the doctors. Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Chai
and Gray.
We're happy to be here with you. We have some weighty topics and we're just gonna jump right in. So another topic that came up this week that I think we're at different ends of the spectrum on is what to do with somebody's Uncle Joe. He is not mine.
He's not my uncle either.
Okay. But some folks claim him, and he was apparently feeling a sense of belonging when he said that you were not black if you weren't voting for him.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. Come on. Take a look at the record.
That was a joke. A bad joke.
And yet I'm not laughing.
A very bad joke. Well, bad jokes you don't laugh at, and very bad jokes make you mad.
Okay.
It was a very bad joke. It was his sense of, he was trying to go for some humor there that just fell flat. I mean, you watched the interview.
I did. Yeah.
I did too. And, I know I've been in public and I've told jokes.
That people weren't black if they didn't vote for?
No, where a joke fell flat.
Okay. But it was a white man kind of joke.
And that's the reason why the joke fell so flat.
Yeah.
It
wasn't his place.
It was humorous when Toni Morrison said that Bill Clinton was the first black president. Mm-hmm. That was humorous because it was Toni Morrison. Mm-hmm. Bill Clinton couldn't say that he was the first black president. Mm-hmm. This preacher Durrell, that was just ignorant when he said that Donald Trump he did more for black people than anybody. That was just ignorant on every level. But Joe Biden saying it, but I think that we're blowing it out of proportion. And the reason why I think we're blowing it out of proportion is that we know that the black vote needs to be inspired. Mm-hmm. And we need that black vote in Milwaukee. We need that black vote coming out of Cleveland and Cincinnati. We need that black vote coming out of Detroit and Flint and Lansing. We need that black vote for those states. Those are some of the battleground states that there's a chance that Biden could win those. Mm-hmm. If those people stay home like they did in 2016, we're dealing with Donald Trump again. We just seen him preside over 100,000 people die, and that's besides. I mean, if we wipe away all the other 3 years of his miserable presidency, let's get into the last 3 months and say, wow, you just presided over close to 100,000 people dying.
But I tell you, here's what I don't like. We remain reactional. we are always on our heels responding to, okay, so we gotta vote for this person because this person did that we never get a chance to catch a breath and say, what is wrong with this person, like all on their own merit, and let's get out in front of that. Because let's think about what's happening with a candidate who makes that kind of mistake, knowing even more so the points that you just mentioned about what we need in Detroit and what we need in Minneapolis, and that's a fragile vote, and that's the way you handle a fragile vote. That's problematic for me.
I'm still at, I've heard all of Donald Trump's statements over the past, I don't even have to say 4 years. I've heard Donald Trump stuff for over the past 30. You know, starting with the exonerated 5. And so, you know, like, there's only so much I want to say against someone when my other, you know, like when my other choice, and let's face it, it's not a third party. These are the two choices.
And I think we need to examine why we always are forced into that position. I think that's the larger issue then. But y'all get together, as many people's social media posts have said quite recently, but you know, come together and still vote for this person. I think we need to ask, why are these always our only choices?
Well, what did we do with Kamala Harris? What did we do with Cory Booker?
I treated them right.
What did we? Okay. what did we do with it? Like, this is bad. I can't remember the brother's name from Massachusetts, the governor from Massachusetts. One of the things is, we're not going to have the perfect black candidate for everybody. You know,
I'm not asking for a black candidate. I'm asking for someone who is mostly sane, lucid in conversation, because Biden had said things that were much more egregious all the way up until that last point, in my opinion. And even his dropping the endings of his sentences and his loose use of ain't, I'm like, I haven't heard Biden with all these ain'ts all of a sudden. And going into this long explication of how the black people in his state have always loved him. I think those are warning signs that while we're fending off Trump, needs to be paid attention to. And it's not lost upon me that the same day that it was announced that his running mate, one of the people being vetted, was
Colabarch.
Yeah, on the same day that it was announced that she was being vetted, this was blowing up on the news. And that, for me, without getting too black conspiratorial, but I'm finding out that conspiracies are where the truth is these days. It feels orchestrated that those two bits of information came out about him when they have already been vetting potential running mates for a few days. But that was like the lead story.
The next day, the other black senator, black woman senator, she's being vetted.
Yeah, Demi.
Although I don't think that she's, I don't know if she's popular enough that she's going to pull out that much vote. I think that even with all the issues that Kamala Harris,
folks haven't looked for someone that has as much, if not more, charisma, and I think Kamala Harris does. And I think that might be why she doesn't get as much attention from me.
Into is a little bit more about George Floyd. This case is still progressing as we talk, but you didn't look at the video.
And no, I won't be looking at the video.
And I will say, at the time of this recording, the 2 police officers were fired from the Minneapolis Police Department. They have not been charged yet with murder. My problem with the video, and I posted it to my Facebook, so if you're on my Facebook, you can see the video, was callous way he was killed. And then the casual way the EMTs came and picked up his body, and the police officers literally got off his neck. The one got off his neck and looked like they were discussing their dinner plans. And not one time in that video, the police officer who actually killed him, not one time was he emotional. Not one time did he act like, "Oh, I think that this could be something happening." In fact, he had his hands in his pocket. That's how casual he was. This was somebody he arrested who complied, and he had his hands in his pocket as he was killing him, and just putting his weight on him. And that, sparked some rage in me.
Well, I think for me, I'll say what I know even before this, but what I feel most emphatically now is it is time to stop recording and sharing deaths and waiting until November to vote, because these are deaths that span the 20th century. And over the last 10 years, as social media has grown, Facebook Live, Snapchat, all of these ways of recording events live, we have even moved past the time where, we're documenting this so it can get out to the world. We now know they will kill us again and again on film and walk free. It's time now to move into the second phase of the plan. One, to think more constructively about what that looks like. And I mean, this kind of goes back to our other topic, because we've been talking about the expediency of going to the polls, and I feel differently about that in light of not just, Joe Biden said something on the Breakfast Club, but the context of the last decade, where you can have a Black Democratic president and all of this loss of life, and have a Trump presidency, and in the middle of a pandemic still have the same, if not more egregious losses of life. I think it says something about how futile the whole process has been, whether Democratic or Republican.
Well, one of the things that has to be looked at is, despite who's in the White House, what's going on in these prosecutors' offices. One of the things that started to help the civil rights movement back in the 60s was when when Kennedy started, Kennedy and then Johnson started to empower the FBI to start infiltrating the Ku Klux Klan and start breaking them from at least lynching Black folks and things like that. But they still work with the local prosecutors in some type of way. How many roadblocks are being put there? Okay, and these prosecutors are elected officials, but what are the majority of your counties that will elect these people? And they purposely make these races at a time when it's going to be low voter turnout. What are some of the things that creates these conditions? Well, I mean, that also came from the fact that the police had a no-knock warrant that was faulty, and Kentucky, you can have a weapon. Someone's breaking into your house, You don't know they're breaking into your house, and so her boyfriend starts firing because he thinks that someone's breaking into his house. And they start firing back and kill her. And the remarkable thing is, and now they've dismissed all the charges on him because it was a faulty warrant. They thought it was a trap house. And so she literally has died for no reason at all.
And we grieve for every one of these deaths. I know I do. But hers is of particular significance, I think, and important that we pause, because whenever a Black woman is the victim, we have a moment and then it feels like we skip over.
Yes.
And now we're at George Floyd, and we're outraged again, and it harkens back to Arbery, but it's like Taylor was in there too.
Yes.
And there's this level of complexity that's added to it because of her gender.
Well, also because some of the other cases involving women, there was always something, an outlier. You know, there was, did she have mental issues? Did she have, you know, some other thing that was going on? In this case, she, you know, like they always say, there's no such thing as a perfect victim. She was. Here she was, a first responder. She was working, trying to help with the COVID situation. All this stuff is going on, and then she's killed. And you can't even say that she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's just like the woman who was killed in Texas. You can't say she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, because that woman, and there was not nearly enough outrage. In fact, the family started fighting about who controls her funeral and all those type of things. But I saw people justifying her being killed because they said, well, she came to the her window with a gun in Texas, a gun in Texas.
Yeah, in her own home.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems the wrong.
They just drove by.
The wrong time is being Black. The wrong place is wherever Black people are.
Yeah. So there's where I find the devaluing of Breonna Taylor is sometimes what happens is a lack of outrage from the community.